North are not affected by this order, by this our order, and in effect, those declarations stand. Despite questioning the orders stated above, the applications for mandamus themselves are still alive and ought to be heard and determined. In line with our conclusion on this application, we exercise our powers under Article 1294 of the 1992 Constitution and make an order pursuant to Order 55, Rule 65, to the effect that the applicants herein are granted leave to file affidavits and statements of case in answer to the respective applications for mandamus which have not been quashed.
Memo kwaba edeba WhatsApp TV so enanso no yawo enkomo kakra sese no eye oman Ghana mu no trend na ekoso efa eye Supreme Court omo ruling na omo ruling ede afa the Re-Collation ho no sese no NDC fo bi I don't actually know etoda bia oti hono mo a onye NDC ni nya MPP ni nemom no enkrofo bi ensemo mbeba bekanti ebetumi amma gab kakra abeda ho ama nipa bi atage wo se eye ade se oye MPP ni anasa wo ye NDC ni maka che se hade nokre na meka menye ye friend say political rat and political dogs fo ni bia me no nokre na meka enu nti asem no se de esitie no eye ade se sa na mede ebeto na ena no eye Supreme Court ekotena ase no ensem a omo ekan ya omo kire sese no omo akwahye eye High Court rulings a omo ede ebetu dwa enu nti jenana ene EC etumi ejina so koye Re-Collation no eho asem no sese sa eyi no omo etumi akwahye no but ode beka ho asem eba bonten no so no NDC fuo bi se kwahye na omo nti asiu se die yo omo nso asema omo eka no yebedi eho enkomo kakra na ebiamu no nso no eyade se osofo Badu Kobi waba bonten e de warning kakrakapa abema eye Sammy Gyamfi ene eye osofo Owusu Bempah achese wo kase eyade se NDC weni a awene no ni kwan se osofo bia begeta nani ase ne kase de wo ye adwuma ma NDC pa ewe ne ya eyono Badu Kobi na so foforo bi ebeje atane ni ase pa de eya ade se ade de ono ontwen ema no nkoso na ebiemu no nso no eya ade se watumi ebie na no aka akire Ghana fo se eye osofo bi ohono mu a ono no party bi a okasatia John Dramani Mahama president elect but ADC ewene ye no sofo no abehura gina honom te se wono ena apeja John Dramani Mahama eden ono ababa besi eye Ghana akonya so anase saa sofo no ena ema Ghana fo evotu edema eye John Dramani Mahama saa ensem na ababa bitodwa no yebekọ eno nso so naja yakotie ensem no Badu Kobi ede aba abetudwa no aha WhatsApp TV mesro ya no subscribe no turn on the notification bell we no like video no share video no ede amaye o comment no na dia to comment section no ase na ye din komo ede free honom na ebiamu no nso no ya na wabomodin a che won follow ye e wo Facebook aya no follow so aha na eja ye tumi edi enkomo ede free honom enso enti ena no ye ko eye dwumadie no emu a yemfa eye Badu Kobi asem yikura ensha ase ni wi a eye Supreme Court omo entrance omo tenase ene kasa omo ekan ye no nso no eye ade se ye de ni nyina eba abeto honom na eja ye di enkomo kakra ede afa ho but before see ye beko eno so kra no mame ensete adem se menya issue kitwa bi with the background yes ekobasa na enkrofo enhyeda enhunu eye the type of program ye ka eho asem sabri no enuti misremo a moma me be 1 minute bi na me set me background no very very well na afei no yenko eye dwumadie no eso na se migusu a mesete background no o de ma memmo eye osofo Badu Kobi na asem na wabeka no memmo no tofa se de beye na se wutie eye video na aba abeto abonten mu ensem a onso ubetumi ate asie pa eye na ni nyina ne se eye osofo Badu Kobi se de America no eye ade se right now no watumi aba abonten ede ensem bi a chese ensem ne etwehwe mu no ye hu se sansem no ekọ edema osofo a ye frɛ no Owusu Bempah na Badu Kobi asem a wo ka no ni nyina no ene se eye ade se NDC wani a awene no eni kwan se osofo bi a ye frɛ no Owusu Bempah no ebeje saa victory na NDC fo enya no eta nani ase ekase ebia eye ono ena watumi abompaye ama eye NDC fo awene na Badu Kobi asemu a wo kan ye a odi twa ni nyina etia no ejina se eye ade se ono osofo Owusu Bempah no NDC ewo hoyi no enya ade se ono obompaye pampokra edema NDC na nkampese wabeka asempa ede afa eye John Dramani Mahama eho nano na o kiremu akọ animu no o kiremu se even asofo na omu aba abonten a sese no omu kase omu na hye nkom ema NDC eba power no sa asofo no omu entwa omu nsem so wo de yankwa na afi yenkonkotie eye osofo Badu Kobi nesem a ode atodwa ene won na wode ama eye Sammy Gyamfi NDC ni se ni hwehwe ni mu a okọ eye Owusu Bempah asolimu na okọ da ase na okọ chese woni Owusu Bempah ko din kasubom no wo de enko na de enko tie video no mu ensam ni ewie a eja kakra yewo ekafa ho no anasa won so wo kafa ho no ubetumi de ato comment section no ase na eja yedi enkomo de efri ho no yenko ne enko tie eye osofo Owusu Badu Kobi nsem a odi tu Ghana fo enim no na afei no yemra
portraying they made NDC win this elections is not true, especially a man of God. Let anybody shouting, making noise, keep quiet. God punish any man of God making noise about this victory. Those who were then speaking against him are now turning to come and tell us they made the victory come. For the way. Now to Sammy Gyamfi, NDC, listen. Sammy Gyamfi, those who stood for NDC. Now on Sunday, you go to places to say, thank them for what? What did he do? When he was speaking against your flag bearer, blood on his hands. Now you rush, you go, you better stop this thing. If you are great, even your auditorium, oh great man, you have not built auditorium. MPP can bring Bawumia Alan, they will not win. Bawumia is also a fine gentleman, but Ghana doesn't need him now. I'm not sad to be called NDC prophet. The person Ghana needs now is the one who has come. MPP has not won elections before. I'm talking about Nanado. Did MPP win? No. When they go wrong, you hear my voice. The nonsense that have started, Badu Kobi is coming at it head on. No man of God in the land of Ghana has suffered about this man, President John Dramani Mahama, than Badu Kobi. Who are portraying they made NDC win this elections is not true, especially a man of God. Let anybody shouting, making noise, keep quiet. God punish any man of God making noise about this victory. Those who were then speaking against him are now turning to come and tell us they made the victory come. For the way. Now to Sammy Gyamfi, NDC, listen. Sammy Gyamfi, those who stood for NDC. Now on Sunday, you go to places to say, thank them for what? What did he do? When he was speaking against your flag bearer, blood on his hands. Now you rush, you go, you better stop this thing. If you are great, even your auditorium, oh great man, you have not built auditorium. MPP can bring Bawumia Alan, they will not win. Bawumia is also a fine gentleman, but Ghana doesn't need him now. I'm not sad to be called NDC prophet. The person Ghana needs now is the one who has come. MPP has not won elections before. I'm talking about Nanado. Did MPP win? No. When they go wrong, you hear my voice. The nonsense that have started, Badu Kobi is coming at it head on. No man of God in the land of Ghana has suffered about this man, President John Dramani Mahama, than Badu Kobi.
Eti wey ene ensemo a eye Prophet Badu Kobi anasa osofo Badu Kobi atumi ede abeto Ghana for animu a wo kire mu se eya ade se ka prophet a wo mu no abre eye John Dramani Mahama ehu a prophet bi ene hono mu a watumi abre eye papa yi hu echen ono ena ebiam no nso no eye ade se eni kwan se asofo bi a wo mu ekeka mu ni ade emse wo mu yafunu nti anasa whatever ende de ono ane betumi a kire mu eba ebeje eye enumunyam edema wo mu ho na eno ene wo ka no wo ka edisi su se eye ade se Sammy Gyamfi anamon bi a wotu ye a wode ekọ eye Owusu Bempah asolimu ekọ da asie se Owusu Bempah nso aya ade ene ade no eno ena oba hye ya wo kire se sa ade no enye ade se obetwe kra na afei no wasori a afei obekeka no ho na NGC fo ene asofo binumu a wo mu edi wo mu ho ebewurawura NDC victory nim ene obeka wo mu nyina agu na eye osofo yi kasa no eye ade se o hye no nso wo se obi frɛ NDC prophet kra na ono ha no yenti asem yo wo se obi frɛ no NDC prophet kra na ono no ha no na asamba ko osan kasi su se onsa anya NDC prophet enu ntine na ama ya confuse kakra sofi edi asem na wo pe akire na asem kakraka wo kan ya na I was expecting say ebianka sofo Badu Kobi eba abonten be candidate da before the elections no kra no ene say eye Akufo-Addo entumi enwe ne elections da na che say ehonom no upapa mu ya se omu enkatege ene de asiso na se mum se video nsa na tie pa de a o pa kire say ebia Akufo-Addo election bi obawe ni bia no eye enwamu se de waso ete no na se osofo Badu Kobi eba abonten ebe kasa asem we se emra John Dramani Mahama ena awene election na the question that me busa ni say asem we da be no hunu ye se ena wo preach no ena sa asem we eba ni tirim anase wonya sa asem we say ana because I was expecting and I say I'm expecting say even say wo from home man of God no say wunya message bia eti say ye na or say so obeka ho asem nko ade a or say ka obeka ne da enyamra wo betete na president bi aba besisuo no sa mere no ena ubenya that gust and opportunity and boldness abekeka sansem a etiti say entina question na mebusa won say unsum nyame anasa usum political party because so obi a awesome political party nko a ena beba beka asem a eti say na mom obi a awesome nyame de irrespective of the abankura esisuo no kure na woso wo ka kire no obeba no abeka no kure no ede a kire no point blank ebra onto ho sabi enunti no se moda mo ho edi se mo ye NDC sofo ene sa no mana fine you can choose your political party I'm not against that so we choose a political party no enya ade a ha me kwan bi aso but ensem bi ho no mo amoka I'm not expecting you people to come out and say that so I just say sansem na ebe piepie mu no ensem bi a no kra nyame anim ni mene osofo Badu Kobi enya adwene kra mene no enya adwene fine so wo personal beef bi with Owusu Bempah woni ninya so Owusu Bempah adane ne ho NDC ni ne no wo se wo de wo wadwa because wo na wo ye NDC prophet nti wo ba be yi prophet anasa osofo a o mo qualify to be NDC people no dia na se bia obedi na tam na so obeka biribi e de a kire Owusu Bempah that one no I don't have any problem but say our president be sitting current president and incumbent president no ho asem ka na o meka ne dadaada na mumu no o twen etete ema o president and asa o political party eba so ansa no obegu nipa no animu ase ekwan no so de wo sofo Badu Kobi na sasem we so bididi wa menye sure say bia nka obepene anasa nkebeye wode so enu nti ya nhwe se won so keka nsem bia sa neko so a che se ensem a Badu Kobi ebeka ye no asem bia this one ne de emse wan kasaye from baby no one kasaye but one year what they ma Sammy Gyamfi ene Owusu Bempah ne de eno de wono nasem ene Owusu Bempah no asem aha ubetumi ede wadwenkyere atumi ato comment section no ase efa this issue na se asem a osofo Badu Kobi ebeka yi eho na se yakoya ni mu a ene no asem kese bi esi o my Ghana mu a internet issue de obia can be pa asem a meka ho asem ni nyina no asem a meka ho asem ni nyina no ene se Supreme Court etumi etena ase about Re-Collation ya so a ede ensensem about my Ghana mu meka after December 7th about 2 years echi Parliamentary elections ya so a gidigidi ne basabasa ye eba hono no ene no isi de bedia ni isi nye isi Supreme Court etena asem no so because on say asem yi ba abonten no ade say isi the Kodan High Court na High Court enema order say Re-Collation enkoso na Re-Collation ni akoso but still na no some of the constituencies no problems ewo honom na eno ena omude asem no akoda na Supreme Court a ene no Supreme Court etena asem no so nene Supreme Court asem a wotena so no wo kire say wakwahye your friend is saying asem no High Court and someone and I say High Court ruling na ode eba ye say omo enkoye Collate no for no and now Re-Collate no ade say Supreme Court no ono sa de no wa chese wa ba hye no kra enu nti Re-Collation na ye no enye ade say ejinai na eno ena yanka say yenim political ensam hu bebre na mum no asem bi ohono mu eba betofom sei na ye de adwene efa ho se ordinary Ghanaians na ye busa ensem bi se Supreme Court asem a wo kaaye no sabi odwene hu ye ana se adenti na Supreme Court emeki this ruling ene de ekoso no data mame ebusa sa question we anasa make kasa se we say no ene se yehwe High Court ruling now odema for Re-Collation no se omo enkoye na ade se na ye 7 constituencies ena eho aba asem na these constituencies no ene Supreme Court etna ase a wo say constituencies no emu mako 4 Supreme Court anase High Court order na wode ma se omo enkoye Re-Collation no eho de wa hoto no anase wa poso sa order na High Court ede emaye no ananso se wa bossa ensem no egu na eno na memi busa se 7 constituencies ena etumi edi wo mu ensem ekodane court no na adenti anasa 7 constituencies ena Supreme Court High Court etumi order say Re-Collation no enkoso enti say Supreme Court bo asem no bi agua adenti ena wo mo ni nyina emu anasa yebusa ye ho anasa yebusa ye ho bi mu say 4 constituencies ena di omu asem ekodane Supreme Court ana na says 4 constituencies Tema Central Ablekuma North ene Techiman South ena Okankwe Central omu ena di omu ensem ekodane Supreme Court dia ene na megimidi ye say other constituencies na Supreme Court say eno de opese sa order na ana Re-Collation na ekoso no eka honom saa no omu nso no ebeduru ba bia omu nso beba se Supreme Court enhwehwe sansem nimu ema omu ebiem enu tire the question is say back and forth we say eba because you say ya yenya simple solution say okay this a year 7 constituencies no ebia yesa arrange a year another Gyamfi say elections at the ama these people and I said these constituencies no separately ɛno ne saa no ɛnyɛ adwuma anase ɛmmoa yɛn sɛ ɔman dan sɛ saa nsɛnsɛm wei se na aba abɔnten no ɛbɛyɛ back and forth ɛbɛwie akyire ɛde basabasayɛ ɛbɛba anaa basabasayɛ ɛwɔ kwan bɛɛ so because say no ɛyɛ adeɛ sɛ NDC foɔ no binom adwene sɛ ebia Supreme Court esquashe this 4 constituencies High Court and Re-Collation na ɛkɔɔ no namely Tema Central Ablekuma North ɛna Techimai South ɛne Okankwe Central no ɛno nti no ebia ɔmo adwene yɛ ɔmo sɛ Supreme Court asɛm na ɔka no ɛne sɛ easy pronouncement na ɔde ma ɔmo sɛ NDC foɔ na awene no NDC foɔ parliamentary candidate ɛna ɛkɔ akɔfa saa nkonwa no a kyɛ sɛ asɛm no nso ɛnte saa na mmom no ɛyɛ adeɛ sɛ asɛm a Supreme Court ɛka ɛdisi yɛ no yɛkɔ yɛ nim no yɛbɛhunu sɛ conclusion nsɛm a aba abɛtɔ dwa ɛno na yɛbusi yɛn ho sɛ ɔmo kɔ a ɛyɛ adeɛ sɛ ebia Supreme Court no ɛfa bi no obetumi agye 4 constituencies ɛde ama NDC foɔ anaasɛ dɛn but ɛno no based on their evidences a omode ebeko akɔkyerɛ no ɛno ɛne beti determine ɛno ti NDC foɔ a momoni agye sɛ ebi Supreme Court abahye anaasɛ wasquashe this rulings na High Court edema isi no moni agye no mo nsa anwene ho bio because asɛm a ɛwɔ akyiri no ɛdɔɔso paa na yanko asɛm no yanko emu kakra na ewia ene no the Supreme Court etena se wo nso nkasaye ene after the rulings no wo mo abekasa ewo ho no nso no video so aba abonten no eja yakasa kakra ede afa ho na asɛm no nyina ne se 7 constituencies ya ho aba asɛm yi no ade se jenana awono ene ye easy boss eba abonten ebeka se sa 7 constituencies no basabasa ye ekoso ebi ohonomo a some political party members bi etumi ekose easy fo no se omu declare aba no ebinum ohonomo a etuo ne yede si wo mu so ebinum ohonomo a threat ene ade ebi nso kra ohonomo a kyese yenkan polling stations ni nyina omo results kra enwie nanso no sorry excuse me encrophobia etumi ejinai say isi declare abano na eno na jemensa ejina so eka say sadie ninti no omo empene na sasem we ya jemensa edeba abontin ena NDC fo yi kase ene emra jenana say your friend say electoral commission emra nim no CI 1 I think 127 is it 127 I stand to be corrected is it 127 yes CI 127 no kire say easy declare aba ewia yenti asem we you easy declare aba ewia wa wonte wo ho ase no was said what they echo court. Yes, and no the yin yet asia. And no NDC for no chere say easy ebe declare abano and also declare this 7 constituencies no. E was say anka MPP for na omu enya parliamentary seat no e wo honum no. Omu de asem no echo court. Yenti asem we you. Na yenhwe asem a NDC for bi kan se nyansam bia. Yenti ni na eno ne yebusa ye ho se CI no anase the law no eka se isi declare abawia yemfa enkokoto a yebusa ye ho se isi age ade no atum no isi age atum ebia isi age atum generally eno achi ene ye de court anase yeshe obi yatwetuo asi obi so ama obi ahya ne yonko se omobo aba no ema obi no eno na yemfa kokod because eno de me jimdi yesesenka MPP for and I say ye di NDC for kra na NDC for mo beka say ade no enya ne kwan so no anka mo beba abonten abeka eno nti no in this context ewo eye CI eye 127 no emu no eye ade say isi no kan biribia eye genuine ene okay sasana NDC for more cases CI no kire say isi make declaration wia enu ano no wa wonto ho asefa kokoto ene nanka essence anase nyansa bay ne wom say yetumi eboka eko print ballot papers ekase ye ko akoto aba ene yanka say isi de oba president a wote so ene yi ne isi enu ti no ka isi ne ba yes gen to aba na waba begina no abobo wonti ase afa court but in this instance no yes sana CI 127 no ka say isi e declare nko dia enu ti in anasa this instance no ye busi ya ho say isi betumi asore kwa without say obia emvotu no ababa be declare say ebia president a otiso eni ana dabi ewom say CI na kande nanso na to da bia yi nipa o se adwene kakra say ade a enam isi no kwan so de eno de yeti ase say yes wonti ase a fakokot nemom ade a isi no enam ne kwan so na isi no anyintumu de at least say the esisi ye no Re-Collation or say a basu because somewhere like Ablekuma North about 60 plus polling stations na eye omo results my na omo results my ya yetumi hye isi say won declare dabi entisa onipa bi akɔhye isi say on declare na isi wanya video evidence a eba ye ni nyina kyerɛ say ampa enkrofo bi wɔ hɔ no ma nipa bi atwinto si wɔ mu so na wo ene atwinto si wo so say declare aba na wo declare ibeku a na declare ma me party a enu tinka wo declare na ana sa wo na wo declare obia ante se wo obia courage anase obia boldness no ente se wo so ahu enti so obi enam hu so ama wo declare about wrongly anase obi yankan your friend say police stations results nyina mai nanso obi akotaka ne say still chenchina declare na esuronti nipa no declare na wo ka kire me say isi emramu no CI 127 no say nya declare abanko ade a ene opu asem afa kokoto asabi na wa anwene ne ba ko ani nimpire no so ene ne ye nto aba nya hwema ne nyeyi ene na abato ayeto no ne nyansa bia enim eti sansam we say so ene nam a enunti asam ekopie high court order say say na their Re-Collations enye dey enkoso because menyimi ni ye say isi ko ya na anase omudi asam no kodru high court ana high court there be at least omo ebe provide some evidences say there jemensa eba abonten ebe kan ye no otumi abobo no ma bi so e kan say we ni siye eti sa wodi jemensa edie ya esiye no e ko compare yemfa ne se ebia afarijan emre so a odo se na CI no enye pe CI 127 na currently eno ne yede ye adwuma no na afarijan emre so no na enye da CI no ena ye active nanso ne amusi ho se in what instance ena afarijan ema anaso order for eye Re-Collation ubon se yebekomu no na ani we say no ewu twaka kakra ebia obi hye wobi ebia obi bo aba based on threat bia enkrofo bi e threat no ene ade so what dey make us enti se sa is issues bi say sorry a the only thing a ewom no ene say okay ya hunu say aha say no this problem ene ya face enu nti ya meramu no next time no ya di be hyebu say ene say but yen senses ne de or say eto da bi e ma no eye adwuma kakra because emra no ye ede manipa enu ti no ye wo baabi wo hono ma e bia yanka yan state ni say obi kwatwetwe si obi so de a eno de isi no wo say isi no ebobo aba no e de manipa no anase ewo eni kwan say isi no esa ye Re-Collation na emumu no ewo say nipa no e de court da bi ye nipa ewo say etumi dwene kakra in these instances ne de eno no so de court a yanka se fa court sa akwa da bi yanka ncho se fa court sa akwa because in these instances no e call for Re-Collation. So it's not as simple as that. Now Re-Collation no e call so no e na yenim se 7 seats wo hono mu a eja omu e ko ho no NDC for afa efa MPP for afa fa and say yes na ye 9 constituencies na 9 constituencies no ye omu Collate wie ye no ye Re-Collation no na MPP atumi afa 7 eka 2 constituencies na eno ena binom nso ntiase a sese asem no omo atase ede eko Supreme Court na said meka eho asem no ene den no eyade se Supreme Court etumi etena se eka asem yi na said osika no nso de okay fine because ono nso atie ena omo kasa ye no at least omo nso prove eno ma okay de fine but the tennis ade no yenya nwie say is your friend say Supreme Court asha say on the 31st Nyankopon ya adoma Tuesday ade say wo say NDC for prepare omo files de eba na omo de be kire Supreme Court because omo be sa atena se both MPP and NDC for no omo be sa atena se asem we say eso na ehonom no na final judgment ebetumi aba enu ti NDC fo a omu asori a na hey na debi munya abotere ye nkasa ma MPP o ba ye kasa se ewo se emra eye adwuma na ye nkasa se sabi NDC fo anya parliamentary seat bebrenti omu fa ada 9 seat ya akai enche debi fairness must take its course. Say nice city a ewo hoi no say court etenase na say asemo no ade say ekọ edema NDC a omo famu wo mu free and fair de ye kan nyina no ye ka ede akọ kire asumdwe because kame akọ yese ase aban ya to awienti emfa hwe ho but these issues na ewo hono mo a ye hwe no saa no ebia at the end of the day say to me entreating ya na the problems akwa so enu ti se adani huro ene court di NDC for asema mo wo no mo amonti ase no court nya ni asem no nyame ya adom a on the 31st court say kwakotena asem we say so ama che the final ebia verdict and I say process no said the ebisi ashase afa nyina no ade se yede eho asem bebrew anase wonso ade se ubeti ebi na yehu said the esi akọ anase said the ebisi akosi because according to MPP for no omu chire mu say ade se sa enoma esisi ye ni no omu go home video evidence na NDC for nso requested for pink sheet ene ade but hold the court eno ombeko akoka asem no yanko now de yanko tie ensem a court etenase no omo ede eba ebetu edwa na yewia yebesa akọ after the rulings no ensem a some of the NDC and the MPP for no being so ede abetu edwa no na eja yedi enkomo kakra na yede afa eno so eho yanko court rulings no said the issue also at the FI.
And the election process advanced to collation of results at the constituency level in order for the winner of the parliamentary election to be determined and declared. In the case of 4 of these constituencies, the applicants contend that the collation exercise had completed, and then the parliamentary electoral results were declared in their favor. In the processes before us, the first to seventh interested parties contend that the collation of results was not completed in those constituencies. It was in this state of affairs that the second to seventh interested parties filed series of applications in the High Court and prayed for orders of mandamus against the Electoral Commission, which is the first interested party herein. Their prayers were for the High Court to order the Electoral Commission to undertake collation in their constituencies and to make a declaration of the winner of the constituency election. In the meantime, the applicants herein had earlier on 16 December 2024 filed an application for judicial review against the Electoral Commission, in their case praying for declarations that there had been earlier declarations in their respective constituencies and praying for injunction to restrain the Electoral Commission from doing another collation. On 20th December 2024, the two applications were listed before the trial High Court judge for hearing. The first application called by the trial judge was that for mandamus by the interested parties herein. The Electoral Commission did not file an affidavit in opposition and stated in court that they were not opposed to the application for mandamus. However, Mr. Godwin Edwigi Tamaklo of counsel for the applicants herein stood up in court and informed the High Court judge that his clients were interested in the mandamus application and that they had even filed a motion to be allowed to join the mandamus case. The judge decided to proceed with the determination of the mandamus application and granted all of them in favor of the applicants therein. It is those rulings dated 20th December 2024 that the applicants have invited this court to quash and to prohibit the trial judge from having anything to do with the applications. The grounds of the applications were as follows. I've listed them in accordance with the motion paper. The interested parties filed affidavits in opposition with exhibits as well as statements of case in which they argued in answer to the case of the applicants. Before the courts could hear the application, counsel for the second to seventh interested party raised a preliminary objection and pointed out that the rules require that at the filing of the application for certiorari, the ruling which is sought to be quashed should be attached, but that was not done. The court indicated that the application should proceed and that in the final ruling would answer the charge. Our conclusion was informed by the fact that there was an explanation in the affidavit as to why the ruling was not attached. And we took note of the fact that now the rulings are before the courts, and in order to determine the merits of the applications, which have been well argued by both sides, it was in the interest of justice to proceed. So we proceeded. Counsel for the applicants first stated that since at the hearing on 20th December 2024, the trial judge was notified that the suit to be affected by the proceedings for mandamus, the judge ought to have joined them to the case in order that they could file affidavit in opposition to the grant of the mandamus. He further submitted that since their application filed on 16 December 2024 was listed before the judge for hearing the same day, the judge had knowledge of their contentions that collation had already been completed and declarations made in 4 of the constituencies. So he ought to have permitted them to put that evidence before him in respect of the mandamus application. Additionally, the applicant stated that the procedure rules on judicial review in the High Court, which were applicable in the case of the application for mandamus, being Order 55 of the High Court Civil Procedure Rule CR 47, made ample provisions for interested parties to be added to an application for judicial review, but the trial judge failed to apply these provisions and to add them. Counsel for the applicants relied on a number of decided cases, especially Public versus High Court Bolgatanga, ex parte Hawaya Kubu, 2001-2002, Supreme Court of Ghana law reports. Counsel for the applicants further stated that the trial judge exhibited bias against the applicants by not only failing to admit them into the mandamus application, but by opting to hear the mandamus application first when their application for declarations and injunctions was filed earlier in time. In answer, lawyer for the first interested party relied on the statement of case he filed and added that he observed that none of the individual parliamentary contestants had an affidavit before the court in which they complained about any miscarriage of justice. Lawyer for the second interested party, the second to 7th interested parties, stated that he was vehemently opposed to the application. He pointed out that the applicants built their case on the failure of the trial judge to join them to the mandamus application. But he submitted that the rules of the court on non-joinder of a party is to the effect that non-joinder does not vitiate proceedings. He referred the court to the case of Bobier versus 21st Century Company Limited. He submits that the judge had a discretion given to him in the application for judicial review to join interested parties if it was in his opinion. If it was in his opinion that they would be affected by the proceedings. The trial judge did not consider the applicants necessary parties and he exercised his discretion against joining them. He submits that such order would not be granted to quash the exercise of discretion by a trial judge. He referred to the case of Republic versus High Court, the Republic versus Court of Appeal, ex parte Chachichikata, 2005-2006 Supreme Court of Ghana law reports. Now, the consideration. In our opinion, the crux of this application is whether, under the circumstances that the trial judge was faced with, could he have proceeded to determine the mandamus applications without hearing the applicants in the form of affidavit evidence and legal submissions on whether the case before him, notwithstanding non-opposition by the Electoral Commission, was a proper case for the grant of an order of mandamus. It is very clear to us that it was plain to the trial judge that the clients of Mr. Godwin Edruji Temaklu stood to be affected by the proceedings in the mandamus application. And the least he could have done was to grant them a hearing on the facts and the law upon which the application was brought. Our courts and all courts, especially in the common law tradition, have held this right to a hearing so sacrosanct that under the circumstances of this case, the applicant ought to have been given a hearing, notwithstanding or irrespective of the provisions of Order 4, Rule 5 of CI 47 on joinder generally, and Order 55 judicial review. In the case of Awuni versus West Africa Exams Council 2003-2004 Supreme Court of Ghana Law Report, the Supreme Court quashed a decision of an administrative body, that is the West Africa Examination Council, for failure to accord persons a right to a hearing. The statute under which the West Africa Examination Council functioned did not expressly confer a right to a hearing, but the Supreme Court held that the West Africa Examination Council ought to have accorded those affected a right, since the right to a hearing had been elevated to a constitutional right in Article 23. If that had been held to bind administrative bodies, how much more a court of law? In the case of ex parte Hawa Yakubu, the High Court in Bolgatanga made orders in an election matter which affected Hawa Yakubu, a candidate at the election. And though she was a non-party, the Supreme Court held that on the facts in the case, the High Court violated her right to be heard and quashed the orders of the High Court. The interested parties say that because Mr. Godwin Edridge Temeklo was allowed by the trial judge to speak, he was accorded a hearing. But they must realize that he was allowed to speak as a friend of the court, as recorded by the judge himself, and not as counsel for the applicants. This is an unfortunate misunderstanding of what amounts to a hearing in the mandamus application of this nature. Hearing plainly required the applicants to have filed an affidavit in the matter and to have made legal submissions. In this case, none of that happened, so the trial judge violated the right to a hearing of the applicants. Now to our orders. We have taken note of the fact that the applicants did not contend that there had been earlier completed collations in respect of Nsawam Aduajiri and Ahafwano North constituencies per paragraph 8 of the affidavit sworn to by Fifi Fiabikwete dated 16 December in support of the motion for judicial review filed by the applicants on 16 December 2024. Since the orders which have been brought to be quashed are separate and distinct, we have decided to exercise our discretionary power to quash by certiorari, having regard to the peculiar circumstances of each ruling. Consequently, we hereby quash the orders of mandamus made for collation of results by the Electoral Commission in the following constituencies. 1. Okaikwe Central. 2. Ablekuma North. 3. Tema Central. And 4. Techiman South. Accordingly, the collation of results in the above constituencies by the Electoral Commission after 20th December 2024 on the orders of the court are hereby set aside. For the avoidance of doubt, the orders of the High Court made in respect of Nsawam Aduajiri and Ahafwano North are not affected by this order, by this our order, and in effect those declarations stand. Despite quashing the orders stated above, the applications for mandamus themselves are still alive and ought to be heard and determined. In line with our conclusion on this application, we exercise our powers under Article 1294 of the 1992 Constitution and make an order pursuant to Order 55 Rule 65 to the effect that the applicants herein are granted leave to file affidavits and statements of case in answer to the respective applications for mandamus which have not been quashed. No, which have not been quashed. Those which have not been quashed. They are still extant. Those which are quashed, yeah. Now those which have been quashed, sorry. Those which have been quashed, yes. To file those which have been quashed as interested parties. The time for filing is hereby abridged to 2 days from today. The applicants for mandamus in the High Court upon service may respond to the processes of the interested parties. Having regard to the circumstance of time constraint on the national electoral calendar, we hereby abridge the time for a hearing of the mandamus applications in the High Court and direct the High Court to hear the applications for mandamus on Tuesday, 31st December 2024. I hope Tuesday is 31st. On the issue of bias, we are not satisfied that sufficient evidence has been provided to us by the applicants. Nevertheless, in order to maintain the integrity of the adjudicatory process and in line with the practice of this court in cases such as Republic versus High Court ex parte, Ajua Company Limited, Auditor General Interested Party, 2019-2020 Supreme Court Law Report of Ghana, Adare, we hereby direct that the applications for mandamus that are extant shall be placed before a different High Court judge for hearing and determination. To conclude, by the conclusions reached in this decision, release A1, A2, A4, and A5 endorsed on the applicant's motion paper are hereby granted, while release A3 and A6 are refused. Release B and C are hereby dismissed. Ordered accordingly.
My lords, we are extremely grateful, extremely grateful.
We are grateful to the court. I was you are grateful.
Etino way ene ensamwa ekoso ewo eye ene Supreme Court ebra omo etumi ehyiaye na sede na yedikan esi eka eho asem no according to eye vote na ekoso no eye ade se omo kire se High Court se o share for Re-Collation no eye ade se omo abosa asem no ato egu. But whatever the cases, no, Supreme Court kire say, ade say was say, Nyankopon ya adomo a on the 31st of December 2024 asem we say no omo esa etena so na enana omo ehia no efiri ne ekopem na de chie eye ade se omo ama NDC for 2 days se omo enfa and provide omo necessary files na on the 31st no eja omo koshia omo nso ehunu de omo ebeye aka afa ho enu nti no so far ne de eye ade se sei na Supreme Court etena ase no ekosie concerning anase efa Re-Collation no ho ensensem no eho na the question aye busa ne se onse abatuo yi ekọ na wieye no abasabasa ye ekọ looting ne ade a yenyina yete ho nsem nkrofo ehye some cases na ebinum so ho no mo a ebia ya na omukọ office se omo ekọ akosizi ade ntra omo aban na aba no enu mienu nyina ne nim se enyemra yenim se saade no etiamra na enye papa ne ni kwan se oman ne yesososo enso ekoye te se the police for kra eni omanim because insensem bi say no or say police for ene sorry editia nenso asa Ghana police nim because said the ade ne esi course no ye nyina ne ani ehunu bi na eno ena ebinimo a kire se akwakoye se John Dramani Mahama ena urbanity no eye ade se police for no kra esuro se omu ebeteki action because o chenanko no eye ade se ebia John Dramani Mahama eba obeba no wetumi aba abeji enipa no afri ni position na ma kom ade nipa na so betumi kura transfer no edna ko kurasi tu ni ade nti twede bia eja abanya dwumayefo no enam say ye political na say ye political system no enye ninti no just say eye corrupt to the extent say no wo ya ade agi so wo hwe political party a ewo so ansan why ade ni ye anaso why ne basa so na saade no nso bi betumi asi because John Dramani Mahama me kai say ebra eye John Dimalo ne mpesu aso ayawa so we gon eye west emere bi security personnel bi a wono wo Legon eba bonten de emo ebe kire ye say eye Madam Lydia Alhassan ene de abre no eye John Dramani Mahama eko ene John Dumelo eko ye friend say eko ye campaign on the stage no John Dramani Mahama eka say eye ade se impo NDC MPP for eyi papa no dia eye ade se wo mu eba omusa ede no ebe hye ni position medi we no eye reference medi eye reference na so reference ede aka assembly into follow me ye anu ti no police fo a omutwama enoma basabasa ekoso no se John Dramani Mahama enya intentions bi se papa na eye meka no ho asemi security personnel ya owo eye Legon yi ho asem a mekan no se ohunu ni se anase okan se NDC for MPP for etumi eyi na dia ema ne ye nko ade dia ene na enye nwanwa se NDC nso eba abonten a obi edi nsemfun kura ebia unfavor NDC no anase unfavor the country no in the name of political party nti NDC fo betumi ayinedi enu nti obi di nsemfuna police fo betumi akwakoche no enam se police ni no esori ditia NDC ni na odi nsemfunu ni nti no oba NDC fo betumi ayinedi enu nti no etwada bia yan security fo ni adwumayefo mu omanim no omuntumi nyomo adwumaye because say abanya eba eni abanya etisuo nti both MPP and NDC ade we say ekoso a chese eye asemu a na say ya ade a ye je no enhwe ha hwehwe ne anka mebi amfa ho a eye ade say ha o man no pa and in the same way say omukọ no omukọ asem we say na say ebia etumi ebu ebo MPP a enya me nwanwa sasasem we say 9 constituencies and 7 constituencies here e work out say kra de yanka say akamu 4 because insawom ado agiri de omo say eyi no enyina verdict no Supreme Court high court omo verdict omo de ma for Re-Collation a ho nso ya Re-Collation no eno je Supreme Court to say ehonum no enyina ahafo ano not omo say eno de enyina but at this for ne de why say omo ka say eno no ade say omo abo eno atoagu enna me sha say mebusa say adai because a 4 way and a day akko na say 4 way na day akko ntira dia okay fine na ne ensawam eye adoagiri ene ahafo ano north omu nso nya hunu se verdict ekọ edema tema central ablekuma north ene tachiman south ene eye okankwe central se verdict ekoma NDC parliamentary candidate ya ene other 2 ya omo say eno de chese ensesa no ade se omo nso de beba court omo nso de beba so omo de beba a chese sa asem we say no Ghana adrumre a wose etumi de no kore eye adwuma yenya NDC MPP sem no ebe haye yo sa no man ebe haye because ade a jemensa ye no to me menhye da hu ne bone ye nyina basabasa ye ekoso ewo eye baby a omototo aba ne ade ye nyina ye ne hu bi to da bia ye nyi sa political sunglasses no ento ho na ye mfa on my Ghana de no enhye ne ye fair to ourselves because say MP kura na wo ba no anasa president kura na wo ba no sabi wanwene wo ho sao enu ti say ni kai a nwene ho se emaima ni akodwene obi papa ni obi maame ho a wono nwene ye ho bebre a ebe wi akire no no makọ akofa abekaye omu akofa abekaye entifo bebre nim se asem ya ekosuo yi no eye ade se anka Re-Collation no yes ebi ohonoma most of the polling stations most of the constituencies were ho ekosu ye mienu pe ena na yewo problem ewo ho ablekuma north ene I think okankwe center yes okankwe central these two ena na yewo problem ho but whatever the cases no sabrede etumi anyini abedane for ene ade asese ye baba be ka ho asem den on the 31st omo kire say ombeba abetoa so na omo aka asem no e de efri honom after the court rulings no ade say NDC Baba Sadek yes ono so ejina ekasa ye ono na ejina ede ama Okankwe Central ono so ekasa ede fa court verdict no eho yenkwada de yenkonkotie ne nsem a wode ebetu edwane bi na yewie a yebekọ MPP fo nso ede no so na eja yedi ehon komo kakra yenkoni nkotie ne emra
the true mandate of the people
will be affected by the
proceedings.
The trial judge did not consider the applicants necessary parties, and he exercised
the law has spoken. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and then to all everybody in Okankwe Central. Now you know. We are optimistic and hopeful that it's going to the true mandate of the people will still stand. We're grateful to the courts for heeding our request. The law has spoken. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and then to all everybody in Okankwe Central. Now you know, I'm still MP elect for Okankwe Central. Yes.
Any comments from you? Well, yes, we're happy that our confidence in the law has, borne its fruits, and we're happy to go and continue. I think it's important that everybody understands that this is just the beginning of our work, and I think that this experience equips us to be able to represent all our people a lot better. So we're very grateful and for the opportunity. And also, we want to say hello to Ghanaians and our constituents. Merry Christmas.
So that is Ebi Bright, the NDC's parliamentary candidate for the Tema.
Eti wey eye asamwa eye Baba Sadek ede ebetu dwa woni Ebi Bright na utie Baba Sadek asem ya wo kan ye ya eye false information as say wodi amano se wono ene woda so eye MP edema eye Okankwe Central but court enso chese 31st omu emra na omu emeka asem no so one baby asem say de echo mo de asem no akọ court achira wo say on the 31st mommra na momeka asem no ye ja wo say kasakakra na yentie wadu mu asem a wo say wo no na sese no oda so MP a omo a elect no eno ne de ekuduru court a ene ebehunu na mpanimfo nso aka se onifrani wo se obetobo abowa na ebia ne nan esibibi so wo so wadwene mu no obetumi ede comment ato comment section no ase na yabusa ye ho se verdict ya ekosui anase sese no asem ya akoduru court yi no wonso uhunu no sei se ugidi se ebeko ede ama NDC fuyi ananso se court no ebetumi ahye no pepepe because NDC fuyi say the this seat ni the omu age ni nyina fine say if say omu edise omu deserve na fair thing there, why not? But ema woman ko she political party echi enkase ya ban na abanti chinchine chia ewo se yitumi eje abano eno na wanhwa na anko hwege because baba Sadik na asem ode betu dwen court kire wo se bra ne enka asem no ni wia ye de ruling ebetu dwa wonso declare de kire Ghana for kire se wo ana woko at the end of the day no Ghana de bekoso no ye nyina ye behu bi na yenko MPP for no so ensemo a omonso ede ebetu edwa no na yenko TB na yemra.
Oh, they should not be worried. You see, nothing really has happened which to me is bad today. All right, the EC did collation and declaration in affected areas, and they said they were not heard on the application. They came to court to say that they were not heard. The court said it's a fundamental rule to be heard. So go back to the court and have your matter heard. So it's simplicity. We are going back on Tuesday. They will file their response. Okay, on why they think that there was collation or there was no collation. The court will hear the matter, make an order for EC to go and make collation and declaration. That is the point. So there's no about re-collation. So this is where re-collation. There is no collation at all.
Finally, in some NIGERIAN, the other one I have one or some.
Yes.
If the NDC decides to contest that again or on a separate platform, what will you do?
Well, that is up to them. The court has spoken already, so that ends the matter.
Are you face them?
Face who? We are not fighting. Okay. They are brothers. We are not fighting. You saw me hugging them and talking to them. Right. This year they are not enemies. We are not fighting. It's a question of the brains. We are not fighting.
The court is concerned about peace after today's ruling. What message do you have?
No, not after today's ruling per se. It's peace post-elections. You realize that after these elections, there have been a lot of post-election violence. We don't understand. There's peace in the country. If we won elections, what about the destruction of state properties and all these things? It's not good. So let's all learn to abide by rule of law. That is the way I see it. That is all. So please, all parties, political parties, especially our brothers in the NDC, they should learn to respect the law. That is all. Oh, they should not be.
Yes, enti we enso ene ensamoa MPP legal team chese lawyers ne mu baako etumi ebe kan ye chese Mr. Gary. Yes, ono no enso asamoa wode ababetudwa eno no wono je wo kire se bibia nsi sao bibia nsi na court no asamoa wo mu kan ye no se ndifo anti ase a o kire se court no kire se mra na ewo mra mu se obia ntumi enyina ono ani tumi so na omu atan ebra yente ofoforo no anumu asem anunti NDC for momra na monso momfa mo asem momra na yemeka na anufiri hono mu a ansana yetumi ehunu de court no so de ebeto Ghana for anim ensamo asofa no akoso nyankopon ya adomo a na enkwane ahoden ewo mu na adwene mu eda hono mu a eye ade se yebeba na yaba beka ho asem on the 31st you be follow pa ebia you be to me at the live streams enso abrewo enu nti no bomode ase we to me a subscribe na wa turn on the notification bell said the be the video bia ebeto eye yem page so a wonso won sabe to me aka na wonso wanya bi ahwe wonso edien na owo eka edefa ensem ya ene ye ka eho asem anasi di eho enkomo no eho ensem bi ti se eye osofo Badu Kobi wa chese wa crash ono a se ni nuo se na damfu se ne enu adamfu whatever the cases no chese wo tumi wa baba wa be crash eye ni nu asofo eye Owusu Bempah ene Sammy Gyamfi a chese wo chese se no ene NDC prophet enu ntino se ye tag ne so ye NDC prophet korana na ni jepa a chese wo bona adwene se enumunyam hunu na Owusu Bempah epeso wogie no enya ade se wo no obema ho kwan aha ama no age a ye di ho enkomo ena sesi nso eye ene de course wo Supreme Court no efa Re-Collation ene collation no eho efa abatu ya course no enso eho yedi eho enkomo se court ashe say on the 31st Ghana fo munya abotere eye ade se omo ebesa ehia na omu atena asem ne so onso wadwenkyere obetumi ede atokoma session no ase na yedi nkomo ede afri honum said ya mekaye no don't forget to subscribe na turn on the notification bell na yedi nkomo anase asembia eba ebetu page so a onso onsa etumi akabi na wenya bi ahwe na ya kyere adwene ewo hase enti ya hwe animu idie ewrade ya adoma yebesa Asia Macau.